The night she swapped her identity, she didn't sleep at all. She just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at a cheap plastic purse that wasn't hers, asking herself one brutal question: what if the only way to be loved is to disappear? Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and how old are you? And think about this while you listen. If love kept failing you because of who you are, would you risk everything to be seen as someone else? Her real name was Eleanor Whitmore, 63 years old, a woman who built an empire from nothing and learned too late that success can make people see your shadow before they see your heart. Every relationship she ever entered ended the same way. First admiration, then entitlement, then quiet resentment. Men didn't fall in love with Eleanor. They fell in love with access. Over time, she stopped believing honesty could survive money. The only person who knew that loneliness was her assistant, Kara Lewis. 40 years old, practical, unassuming, and emotionally steady in ways Eleanor never was. Kara had watched men speak freely around her, joke without pretending, open up without fear. Eleanor noticed something painful. Men were relaxed with Kara, but guarded with her. That contrast cut deeper than rejection ever had. The idea came suddenly, not as a plan, but as a confession. Eleanor said it out loud before she could stop herself. "What if I wasn't me? Just once." Kara laughed at first, then went quiet when she realized Eleanor was serious. The switch wouldn't just be clothes or attitude, it would be lives. Kara would pose as the wealthy woman taking a break from city life. Eleanor would become the assistant, nearing retirement, living modestly. No announcements, no background searches, just a town where nobody cared who you used to be. They chose a small lakeside town where people measured days by weather, not headlines. Eleanor introduced herself as Nora, no last name worth remembering. For the first time in decades, no one asked her what she did for a living. No one leaned forward when she spoke, and strangely, the silence felt kind. Then she met him. His name was Samuel Price, 70 years old, retired carpenter, widower for 6 years. His hands were rough, his posture slightly bent, but his voice was calm and unhurried. He didn't scan the room when he spoke. He focused. When Kara introduced herself with confidence and polish, Samuel nodded politely. When Eleanor spoke, he actually listened. They met again by accident at a hardware store. Then again at a morning coffee spot. Conversations grew naturally, without pressure. He talked about fixing old furniture because it felt like giving things another chance. He never asked Eleanor what she owned, only what she enjoyed. One afternoon, he said something that unsettled her. "At this age, I don't want excitement. I want truth." She smiled, but inside, fear tightened its grip. Every connection deepened the lie. Eleanor found herself editing stories, trimming details, reshaping memories to fit the woman she pretended to be. And yet, she felt more herself than she had in years. Kara watched from the sidelines, uncomfortable in her borrowed power. Men who approached her were eager, flattering, impatient. They spoke about plans that included her money before her opinions. It made Kara defensive, and it made Eleanor's fear grow sharper. What would happen when the truth came out? Then the town organized a charity auction. Kara was asked, expected to donate generously. The number she gave made people gasp. Phones appeared. Whispers followed. Samuel stood near the back, watching Kara receive praise, then looking at Eleanor with a furrowed brow. Something shifted in his expression, like a puzzle piece refusing to fit. Later that night, as they walked near the lake, Samuel stopped suddenly. He didn't sound angry. He sounded careful. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Why does your boss look at you like she's scared? And why do I feel like I don't really know who I'm talking to?" Eleanor's heart slammed against her ribs. The truth pressed against her throat, heavy and unavoidable. Eleanor didn't answer him right away. The lake water lapped softly against the dock, and for a moment, She considered lying again, just enough to get through the night. But something in Samuel's face stopped her. It wasn't suspicion. It was disappointment mixed with patience, like a man who had learned what it cost to ignore his instincts. She took a slow breath and said, "You're right. You don't know who I am, and that's my fault." She told him everything, not in dramatic bursts, but in steady, careful truth. The real name, the company, the switch, the fear that money had poisoned every chance at love she'd ever had. She didn't justify it. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just spoke, voice shaking, eyes fixed on the dark water because she was afraid to see his reaction. When she finished, the silence felt endless. Samuel finally spoke, and his words were quiet but heavy. He said deception didn't hurt because of money or status, but because it steals choice. He told her his wife had hidden debts from him once, not out of greed, but shame, and how that secret changed everything between them. He admitted he didn't know if he could trust her now. That hurt more than any rejection Eleanor had ever faced, because for the first time, it felt earned. They didn't walk home together that night. The next morning, Eleanor woke up feeling smaller than she had in years. Not powerless, just human. Kara sat across from her at the kitchen table, already knowing something had broken. Eleanor didn't ask for comfort. She said, "If he never speaks to me again, that's on me." Kara nodded, tears in her eyes because she had seen the cost of the lie from both sides. Kara confessed that pretending to be wealthy had taught her something ugly too. She said power attracts noise, not care, and she wanted her old life back. Eleanor decided not to hide anymore. She corrected people when they called her the assistant. She stopped avoiding questions. She didn't announce her wealth, but she didn't deny her past either. Some people treated her differently immediately. Others didn't care. That alone felt like progress. Days passed without Samuel. Then one afternoon, Eleanor found a note tucked into a book she had returned at the library. It was short. It said he needed time, but time didn't mean no. It meant slow. Eleanor read it 3 times, heart pounding, and for the first time since the truth came out, she allowed herself a small hope. When they finally met again, it wasn't romantic. It was awkward and honest. Samuel told her he was still angry about the lie, but he couldn't ignore the way she had listened to him before he knew anything about her. He said, "I liked who you were when you had nothing to offer me." Eleanor replied, "That was the only part of me that was real." They both laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because the tension needed release. They started over, slowly and openly. No pretending, no protecting. Eleanor talked about her fears of being used. Samuel talked about his fear of being left behind in a world that moved too fast. They argued sometimes. Trust didn't snap back into place. It rebuilt itself piece by piece through consistency, not promises. Kara left the town a month later, returning to her own life with a clarity she hadn't expected. She hugged Eleanor tightly and said switching places had changed her forever. She didn't want power anymore. She wanted peace. Eleanor understood that now more than ever. Months later, Eleanor and Samuel sat on the same bench by the lake where the lie had almost ended everything. There was no proposal, no dramatic declaration, just 2 older people sharing quiet. Eleanor realized something important in that moment. Love hadn't arrived because she hid who she was. It survived because she finally stopped hiding. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt reduced to a label, a number, a bank balance, or an age, remember this. Real connection doesn't come from pretending to be less. It comes from being brave enough to be honest, even when honesty risks everything. If this story made you feel something, tap like so more people can find it. Share it with someone who believes love has an expiration date. And tell me in the comments, do you think you could forgive a lie told out of fear? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us it's never too late to be chosen for who you truly are.